It's time for Imagine That, presented by Xfinity. This is an entertaining segment because we get to imagine things that we think are going to happen either this weekend or over the course of the season. I'll go first because mine is more immediate. You have a really interesting season-long Imagine That. Mine is just very simple. I know I've had a few Bobby Petrino ones because one was just imagining
Bobby
him.
Petrino, don't you?
Well, I'm fascinated by this whole dynamic that he ever again became, that he got hired back at Arkansas in the first place.
I
Was
know.
Shocking. And then now that he's the acting head coach, and there are a lot of people and people with money that want him to be the full-time head coach after this season. I feel like he's going to win one of these games. Okay. They came close against A&M. The offense is really good. We have seen that.
So good.
And the defenses in the SEC, there's a lot to be desired in a number of places. So I think it's definitely possible that they're able to win at least one of these big games or a couple down the stretch. I'm saying imagine that Bobby Petrino's Arkansas Razorbacks crush Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Now, Auburn has had a number of very, very close and painful SEC losses. So when you look at Hugh Freeze's overall record, not great, 14-18. He hasn't won more than 6 games in a season. People have compared it to Brian Harsin. We've talked about how bad it is. This is someone who's supposed to be an offensive guru, quarterback whisperer, might be making a quarterback change this year. Lots of issues. This week, the biggest headlines were, again, possibly making a quarterback change and that he was begging for a vote of confidence from his athletic director. He was like, well, that would be nice. Like, that would be nice. We talked, but, I haven't talked to him directly. He's been so supportive. He has people to answer to. I know I can get this fixed. He said all that stuff. Now, he did have his athletic director, John Cohen, had a weird comment last week to AL.com. He said, I don't know if I'm going to walk outside and my car is going to start or not. I think it is. I have an expectation. It will. But if my car doesn't start enough, then I will evaluate that and make decisions about my car. But that's not my expectation at this point about our football program.
Is he driving a hoopty?
So he's saying that right now the car is starting.
I get the analogy, but dog, what kind of car are you driving? You're a big-time athletic director. That is a hell of an analogy.
Yeah, I would hope that your car is starting. I would really hope that your car is starting every single day.
We could do better. We could do
better.
So
again, he is not, that was like a very weird vote of confidence that he gave last week. But my point here is Auburn gets blown out. You got to make a change. This is a place that does not have a lot of patience. It's a place that has been through the buyout life before and has it this isn't a big one. It's like $15 million. It's paid out over years. They set it up to potentially pay it out, and they would be ready to do that. There's not a lot to hang your hat on. I mean, the first year, you don't have a quarterback, then you don't pay to get a quarterback. Then the quarterback is still a problem, and the quarterback position is still bad. All of those sacks that they gave up to Oklahoma, there's not a lot to show that there is progress. And I get that when you're close, you feel like you're just a couple plays away. But if Bobby Petrino, interim coach, Arkansas, already so bad, they made a coaching change. If they crush Auburn, that's what we'll be paying attention to next Sunday. That's the one we'll be texting, calling, refreshing Twitter on.
So I would make the argument that they're not that close. And I know that the scores would say otherwise, but they have thrived off of their defense being really freaking good. That offense is so bad. It's broken. And you have the offensive guru, as you mentioned, to me, that is, I don't know, that can never be a problem. Your offense should never be the problem. You shouldn't be out here hoping that your defense can hold a team to 14 points in order to win ball games. So definitely feels weird there. As a head coach, I would never ask for a vote of confidence. You and I both agree that is usually the beginning of the end. So that to me was also they are in such a weird spot here. And yes, Bobby Petrino coming in there with that offense, again, that is phenomenal. If they're able to make that defense look bad, and we know Arkansas does not have a good defense, but Auburn's offense is bad enough that they could just also look bad again. I don't know what you do with that, but to me, it would feel like that's the signal of all right, might be time.
All right, give me your Imagine That.
All right, so my Imagine That, again, I like to paint some colorful pictures when we do this, but coaches like Matt Rhule, Lane Kiffin, and Eli Drinkwitz go under 500 against the remainder of their schedule. So that would put Nebraska at a 7-5, in Ole Miss and Missouri would both be 8-4, I believe, if that's the case.
So that's none of those teams are playoff teams in that scenario.
No, they're not in that scenario, and also felt beneath expectations in that scenario. Real quick before I get into this, Matt Rhule, here's a stat. He's 1-10 after reaching the 5th win in each of his years at Nebraska. So he struggles once they get to that 5-win point in the first place. So this is one that could actually happen. The reason I bring this up is the coaching carousel conversation that we had, and these are 3 of the hottest names that are going to be involved. And I'm just curious, like, I think you and I both agree that a lot of these teams are going to end up hiring guys that won't win the press conference. Like, it's not going to feel like a slam dunk. But how do you feel about how do you feel about any of those 3 guys if they lose half of the rest of their games, right? Like, if Matt Rhule is sitting there at 7-5, Nebraska is probably sitting there with him as the head coach next year. And it's not because they did a lot to get him. It's because Penn State might have been like, I don't think we can move on this guy now.
This is a really good point. This is why it's important to remember it depends how the rest of the season goes when we talk about the coaching carousel. Because it is going to affect whether or not those guys are the top candidates, whether or not other people want to hire them. And also, like, somebody else could pull off a big upset or 2 and suddenly they get, in the mix here. I think that it's a really, really interesting imaginary situation, but it's definitely possible because this happens. This totally happens where we are convinced at the midseason that one team is really good. They're cruising. Their coach is a hot shot candidate, and then the wheels fall off. So I think that that's really interesting and worth keeping in mind on. That was Imagine That presented by Xfinity.